Thank you all for getting up so early to be here this morning. We were remarking that we were very pleased this gathering was today and not yesterday, because I suspect we would have had an empty room, and despite the cold, you all made it here. This is our second event in our series on biosimilars, which may not be a household medical term, but it's worth noting that the worldwide market for biosimilars is big and getting bigger, estimated to hit $25 to $30 billion in the next 4 years. The Food and Drug Administration defines a biosimilar as a drug that is, quote, highly similar to an FDA-approved biological product and has no clinical meaningful differences in terms of safety and effectiveness from the original product. It's thought that these less expensive drugs have the potential to eliminate billions of dollars in spending, but questions remain, first about safety, second on how to educate doctors and patients about these drugs, and finally about how the FDA approval process should work. So this conversation isn't a static one. The FDA will soon have a new commissioner, and in January, the agency came out with new guidelines for biosimilars. And, of course, forthcoming policy decisions from the White House and Congress could also have a significant impact. So clearly, we have a lot to talk about this morning. I would like to begin by thanking the Biosimilars Council for making today's event possible. The Council is a division of the Association for Accessible Medicines. Some of you in this room may already know that was the Genetic Pharmaceutical Association. And with all of that, I am delighted to welcome the association's president and chief executive officer, Chip Davis Jr. Chip, would you like to come up and say a few words?
Thanks, Margaret. Thank you, Margaret. Good morning, everyone. And let me second Margaret's comments about thanking all of you for braving not the snow that was yesterday, but the cold, which is today, for being here and joining us for this important policy conference this morning. I also want to thank everybody who is tuned in through the live stream. I know many of you in the room, as well as those of you online, were here in December for the first part of our three-part series that the Biosimilars Council has underwritten for the Atlantic, and we're proud to partner with them and to continue to partner with them. And on behalf of the Biosimilars Council and all of our members, many of whom are represented here today, we are excited that all of you have taken time out of your schedules to join us. Those of you who are, as I said before, returning, and those of you who may be many new faces that we look forward to meeting and getting to work with as we move forward. You know, if you look at the attendee list here today, you will see a very diverse cross-section of healthcare interests and organizations. And for us at the Biosimilars Council, and more broadly the Association for Accessible Medicines, formerly the Generic Pharmaceutical Association, we think that's fantastic because it reflects the level of interest in this growing field of biosimilars. And we will hear from an array of subject matter experts here today. And to that end, I want to thank all the speakers as well for taking time to be here, and in particularly to Chairman Burgess for taking time to come off the Hill in what we all know is a very difficult and challenging and also exciting time for the debate around healthcare on Capitol Hill. For those that I have not had the opportunity to meet, just a minute on the Biosimilars Council. As he said, it's a division of the Association for Accessible Medicines, which if we had held this conference in December, which the first one was, you would have known us then as the Generic Pharmaceutical Association. So we have really not just rebranded or relaunched a name, but we've relaunched a new identity. And the mission of our association is to make sure that everyone knows that generic drugs historically and moving forward, and biosimilars moving forward, are the solution to the challenges and concerns about overall increasing healthcare costs and the cost of prescription medicine in particular. And they are not the problem. In fact, generics historically experience a deflationary year-over-year trend rate in costs, and biosimilars, as Margaret said, have the potential to generate billions and billions of dollars of savings over the next scoring decade. Our member organizations include manufacturer companies and stakeholder organizations, all of whom are committed to working to develop biosimilar products with the intent to compete here in the U.S. market. Now, you may have picked up some of the Biosimilar Council materials on the way in. I just wanted to take a moment to draw your attention to a new educational resource that we've developed that we're sharing for the first time with everyone here today, and that's our Biosimilars infographic. The infographic speaks to the safety and efficacy profiles of these biosimilar products. As Margaret said, safety has been a key topic of discussion around biosimilars. When it comes to the safety, it's important to know that there is a rigorous FDA approval process related to the safety and efficacy profile of each biosimilar product. and that the commitment and investment that the manufacturers are making to patients to ensure that these products that they deliver are safe and effective, every bit as much as their original biologic counterparts. In short, patients will have access to safe, affordable, and life-saving medicines based on cutting-edge research through the development of more biosimilar medications. As many of you already know, biosimilar products have been and continue to be available in other highly regulated markets. More than a decade, 10 full years of patient use, millions of patient days of experience in the EU has shown no difference in health outcomes between patients who use a biosimilar and those that take the original biologic medicine. And here in the U.S., only 4 biosimilars have been approved since a pathway was created all the way back in 2010, and just 2 of those 4 are on the market now. The other 2 are tied up in litigation. Policies can and should be enacted now in this new Congress with this new administration that will allow the biosimilar industry to grow and serve U.S. patients, and particularly the most vulnerable patient groups, including those with low incomes, seniors, and patients with multiple chronic diseases. To that end, we look forward to building on the discussions from our first briefing, which served as sort of an academic 101, if you will, to the major policy issues impacting biosimilars, and to do a deeper dive into some of the regulatory issues and policies that will play an important role in the development of a robust market for biosimilars here in the U.S. So once again, on behalf of the Biosimilars Council, on behalf of the overall Association for Accessible Medicines, thank you for being here, and we look forward to maintaining this dialogue with you following what we're sure will be another educational and highly engaged discussion with all of our stakeholders and subject matter experts today. Thanks very much. Margaret.
Thank you so much, Chip. Before we get going, just a few practical notes. Please silence your cell phones. Don't put them away, because we'd love you to join the conversation on Twitter using the hashtag #ATLPoliticsPolicy. That's ATL Politics Policy, all one word. And we want everybody in the room to be part of the conversation. So over the course of the morning, we will be taking your questions. So don't hesitate to raise your hand when the time comes. And with that, it is my pleasure to introduce our first guest, somebody who could play a meaningful role on the Hill, defining what will be on the agenda when it comes to biosimilars. Congressman Mike Burgess is a Republican from Texas, and he's a doctor who chairs the Subcommittee on Health. And here with the Congressman is my colleague, AtlanticLIVE contributor, Joey Chen. Take it away.